Fame is a blinding light. It promises immortality. But for the icons who shaped our culture, the final curtain didn't just fall, it shattered our collective reality. These weren't just deaths, they were historical markers that stopped the world in its tracks. These are 10 of the most famous celebrity deaths in history, and the truth behind the final moments of the people who changed the world forever. Princess Diana. She was the world's most photographed woman, yet her final moments were hunted by the very cameras that made her an icon. August 31st, 1997. 36-year-old Princess Diana was fleeing paparazzi in Paris. The Mercedes-Benz entered the Pont de l'Alma tunnel at high speed, crashing into the 13th pillar. But the horror didn't end with the crash. As Diana lay trapped in the wreckage, bleeding and fighting for her life, the cameras didn't put themselves down. They swarmed. The dark tunnel was lit by a strobe-like effect of continuous flashes, capturing her final moments of consciousness. When emergency responders arrived, they had to fight through a wall of photographers just to reach her. It wasn't just a car crash. It was the moment the world turned against the ruthless nature of the tabloid media. She died at 4 a.m., and in that instant, the People's Princess became a permanent part of our global grief. John F. Kennedy. A sunny day in Dallas, a motorcade, and the single, split second that changed the trajectory of the 20th century forever. November 22, 1963. President John F. Kennedy was riding in an open-top Lincoln Continental through Dealey Plaza. At 12:30 p.m., the sound of gunfire echoed, and the presidency was changed forever. The tragedy is often defined by the stoic grief of Jackie Kennedy. Covered in her husband's blood, she refused to change her iconic pink Chanel suit during the swearing-in of Lyndon B. Johnson. When aides begged her to clean up, she famously said, "Let them see what they've done." That blood-stained suit remains a haunting, preserved artifact in the National Archives, a permanent, silent witness to a moment of national trauma that refused to be washed away. John Lennon. He signed an autograph
Lennon.
for the man who would take his life just hours later. A brutal, chilling reminder of the thin line between adoration and obsession. December 8, 1980. John Lennon returned to the Dakota apartment building in New York. Earlier that day, Mark David Chapman had approached him, asking for an autograph on his copy of Double Fantasy. A photographer actually captured the moment, Lennon smiling at the man who would murder him. At 10:50 p.m., as Lennon walked into his home, Chapman called out, "Mr. Lennon." As he turned, 5 hollow-point bullets were fired. Lennon staggered into the lobby and collapsed. His death wasn't just the end of a musician. It was the abrupt, violent silence of the Beatles' dream. He died as his career was seeing a massive rebirth, leaving the world to wonder what music he might have created in the decades to follow. Marilyn Monroe. She was the ultimate symbol of Hollywood glamour, yet she was found alone, in a locked room, in a mystery that refuses to die. August 4, 1962. The world's biggest star lay face down on her bed in Brentwood, California. When her psychiatrist finally broke the bedroom window to enter the locked room, they found a scene that would baffle investigators for decades. A telephone receiver hung off the hook, suggesting a final, desperate reach for help that never arrived. The official report cited an overdose of barbiturates, labeling it a probable suicide. But for millions, the empty pill bottles scattered across her nightstand felt like pieces of a larger, darker puzzle. Marilyn's death, at just 36, turned her into an eternal myth. She became more than an actress. She became the face of fame's cruel, hollow side. A woman who was watched by the entire world, but ultimately died completely alone. Her legacy remains a permanent shadow over the glitz of Hollywood.
Tupac Shakur, hip-hop royalty, killed on the most crowded street in Las Vegas. With cameras everywhere, how is it still an unsolved mystery? September 7th, 1996. The air in Las Vegas was electric following a Mike Tyson fight. Tupac Shakur was riding shotgun in a black BMW, vibrant and full of life. At a red light on Flamingo Road, the night turned into a nightmare. A white Cadillac pulled alongside, a window rolled down, and the silence was shattered by 14 rapid gunshots. 4 bullets struck Tupac, ending the life of a poet, a rebel, and a voice that defined a generation. Despite the city being packed with tourists and surveillance, the shooters vanished into the desert night. 6 days later, he was gone. His murder isn't just a cold case. It is the most haunting mystery in music history. It reminds us that even when you reach the absolute pinnacle of success, you can still be silenced by the very streets that shaped you.
We're halfway through this list of icons taken too soon. If these stories are moving you, hit that like button to help us honor their legacies.
Kobe Bryant, a legend, his daughter, and a morning fog that swallowed a legacy in a matter of seconds. January 26th, 2020. The world was quiet as a Sikorsky S-76B took to the sky over California. On board were Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter Gianna, and 7 others. As they flew, a thick, white wall of coastal fog descended, blinding the pilot. This led to a phenomenon known as spatial disorientation, a terrifying state where a pilot loses all sense of gravity and direction. Believing he was climbing out of the clouds, the pilot was actually banking steeply toward the mountains. At 184 miles per hour, they slammed into the hillside. It was a tragedy that didn't just break the hearts of sports fans, it shattered a community. Kobe was in his second act, dedicated to coaching his daughter. His death remains a gut-wrenching reminder of how fragile life is, even for the most dominant figures in human history.
Kurt Cobain. He became the reluctant voice of a generation, but beneath the flannel and the fame, he was fighting a war he couldn't win. April 5th, 1994. The grunge era, which had defined the early 90s, came to a screeching, painful halt in a small greenhouse above a garage in Seattle. Kurt Cobain, the man who sang for the misunderstood, retreated into the silence. He left a note pinned to a flower box with a red pen, then took his own life. For 3 days, the body of the most influential musician on the planet sat undiscovered, until an electrician arrived for a routine security installation, and initially mistook the rock star for a mannequin. Kurt became the face of the infamous 27 Club, that tragic group of artists lost at the peak of their youth. His death was the symbolic end of an era, leaving behind a void that no amount of music could ever fill.
Robin Williams. He spent his life making the world laugh while he was quietly fighting a monster no one could see. August 11th, 2014. The world wept for Robin Williams. The initial narrative was simple, a battle with depression finally lost. But the truth was far more terrifying. An autopsy later revealed he was suffering from diffuse Lewy body dementia, a degenerative disease that causes severe hallucinations, paranoia, and mental decline. His brilliant, improvisational brain was being systematically erased from the inside out. He wasn't just struggling with sadness, he was fighting an invisible, unstoppable monster that he didn't even have a name for while he was alive. It is a deeply haunting realization. The man who taught the world to laugh was trapped in a nightmare of his own mind, unable to find the exit.
Heath Ledger. He gave the performance of a lifetime, but the pressure to be perfect cost him his own. January 22nd, 2008. Heath Ledger had just finished filming his transformation into the Joker, a performance that would eventually cement his place in cinema history. But the process had taken a toll. Exhausted and plagued by chronic insomnia, he sought rest in a dangerous cocktail of 6 different prescription medications. It was a fatal, accidental oversight, a desperate attempt to get a few hours of sleep,
that turned into a permanent slumber. He died before he could see the critical acclaim, before he could be crowned with the Academy Award, and before he could see his work change the face of filmmaking forever. His story is a somber cautionary tale about the invisible pressure of perfection in the high-stakes world of Hollywood. Marvin Gaye, a Motown legend, killed in his own home by the very person he tried to protect. April 1st, 1984, the day before his 45th birthday, the air in the Gaye household was thick with tension. Marvin Gaye, the voice of soul, tried to de-escalate a vicious argument between his parents. In a moment of madness, his father, Marvin Sr., grabbed a Smith & Wesson .38, the very weapon that Marvin Jr. had bought for his father as a Christmas gift for home protection. 2 shots were fired at point-blank range. The legend of what's going on was extinguished by the man he brought into the world, in the very house he paid for. It is the ultimate irony and the final, devastating betrayal. It remains a tragedy that feels more like a Shakespearean play than a real-life event, reminding us that even the most beautiful voices can be silenced by the cruelest of fates. 10 icons, 10 lives that shaped our world. From the stages of Wembley to the quiet rooms where they drew their final breaths, these stories remind us of a singular truth. Behind the flashing lights, the awards, and the massive audiences, these were human beings. They struggled, they hurt, and they left behind pieces of themselves that we will cherish forever. Their deaths were tragedies, but their lives were triumphs. Which of these legends do you miss the most? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the history of the stars. Thanks for watching.